Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Sober.Coffee.
Hey, is that Sober.Coffee.com?
Sober.coffee.eu.us.
CA. .org.
I used to be in trouble.
Dude, that's so funny. No, we're Sober.Coffee. You don't need .com or anything. And,
check out the website because it's got resources out there. It's got a little bit about us, a little behind the counter, and you get to the entire library of a podcast, of which we're fast approaching 100, right, Glenn?
Yeah, we are. I think we're 90-some. That's amazing, man. We started this out. We made a commitment for the first year, and we're in season 2, as they say in podcast.
I'm only contracted through season 2 so it'll be Glenn and Barbara.
Well, it won't be because Joe Rogan asked me to join him.
Oh,
so.
He's a has-been. He's got nothing
Joe
on
who?
us. Yeah, that's
totally.
right.
Totally. You know, I heard something the other day. He's like, "Oh man, I love people with like tragic stories," and you know,
they should listen to us.
Yeah, and they found a way back. I'm like,
listen to us.
Totally. All right, man. So just want to let you know, I know we're not on video yet. We're someday we'll figure that out. You know, our barista Brian at Audio Hive is just master, man. We're in a new studio, sexy as can be. Yeah. We got Sober.Coffee.
It's wired for video, so you never know what's going to happen around here.
You just got to behave. There's so many cameras around and everything. Right. But no, super cool. So I've got my favorite shirt on.
Let's park on Brian for a second. So audiohive.com, right?
Yep.
And it's located just outside the city of Chicago, but we've also used Brian remotely. So, I mean, if you're
that's a great point.
if you're doing some podcasting, again, he's not an official sponsor, but I just want to shout out to him because he does a great job for us. So,
well, let me just full transparency here. Let me behind the curtain with Brian, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know how business out there with websites and forums and Google searches and everything else. Nobody responds. Mm-hmm. I mean, I went to try to get a countertop a couple years ago, and I put like 8 requests out, and one guy responded.
Right.
You know,
was it Brian?
No, that's funny. but they have all the, they have everything built, and nobody responded to a customer who wanted to pay money.
Right.
Bunch of idiots out there, right? So the one guy that comes, I paid his price because there's nobody else to do it, right? So. We started talking. We were going to do it internally, and I'm like, man, I don't even know what to plug in where, and bam, blah blah. I'm like, let's find a studio, right? So I went and I Googled, and there were some options out there. So I filled out Brian's form, right, on Audio Hive, website, free initial session, right?
Oh, free. You went for the free.
Yeah, I'm like, well, that's bullshit. He'll talk me out of that, and, which Brian, I don't think we ever got, but. But so I fill out the form.
Wait, we're going to go mute all of a sudden. Don't diss Brian, please.
We filled out the form, right? And within 30 minutes, like, he was in touch.
Yeah. And
he was attentive and everything along the way, man. And I'm telling you, that is very rare out there in the business world and people delivering. And so if you're remote, if you're in Timbuktu or you're in Anchorage, hey, Brian, I hope you will be remote because we're out here pitching you.
Yeah, right. So let's get down to the business of helping one another stay sober.
All right, real quick.
Yes.
Real quick.
Yes,
wait
yes.
a second.
Okay.
I'm wearing my favorite shirt.
Oh, sobriety is my superpower.
Sobriety is my superpower. So,
that's fantastic.
Do you know where I wear this?
Where?
I wear it 2 places.
To the gym?
Yes. I wear it here, the podcast, in case someone takes a picture. And then I wear it to the gym.
Okay.
I only have this shirt. I have 3 sober shirts now that I wear to the gym. I have one that just says sober. I have one that says sober as fuck, and then this one. But the fact that you said the gym is such a rarity with Glenn, right? So I'm really focused on my health. So far, we're sitting here in July of 2022. So far this year, I have lost 45 pounds. Wow. And my goal by December of 2022 is to get down to 199 pounds. Wow. I will have lost 70, and I will hit it.
Yeah.
I will have lost 76 pounds. So when we talk about success in 2022, that's up on the board.
Right.
7610. But I love your saying, and I'm really adopting it, is get healthy, stay healthy.
Yeah.
And what I have found is when I'm healthier, it fuels my day better. I deliver for myself and others better when I'm healthier. So that's kind of my intro. Thank you for getting me inspired with the get healthy and stay healthy. But sobriety in many ways is a superpower.
Absolutely.
It took me time to figure that out.
Yeah, right. So what's on topic today?
Okay, so let's talk about our favorite topic.
Okay.
Favorite topic, coffee.
Okay. Coffee.
Right? So our topic today is serving the coffee, right? Now, a lot of us are familiar with that, with going to Starbucks and the baristas, and they, you go up and you order and they serve the coffee, and you watch them make, 4,000 different iterations of drinks within 30 seconds, right? It's just amazing, right? But, I like to, this topic has really helped change me with how I look at things and situations and people. And initially, so just to give you a little background, my whole life, I served me. And everything I did benefited Glenn. And if I did something for Mike, and Mike's thinking, wow, Glenn was nice, he did something for me, I can assure you 100% of the time, I only did for you because it was going to come back better for me. And I had a game plan, and I had a scheme for that.
It was transactional.
Absolutely. But it was such bullshit. And here's a fact on that. I was, promoted through the executive ranks. In 1 year, I had to spend a week with an industrial psychologist before I hit the high executive ranks. They wanted to make sure I was sane and I was okay. And part of that, I had, 500 people that, that I was responsible for. And they sent a survey out to 50 of them, of subordinates, people on my team. And what came out from that was, and it's amazing how 100 questions, they can come out. But one of the dominant points was, I am absolutely committed to serving and developing and training and coaching and cheering on other people, only for the sole benefit of helping me. I don't know how they pulled that out of those questions, but that psychologist
I don't think that's fair. They only pulled 50. They should have pulled all 500.
I think it would have swayed the results.
That's right.
But this psychologist said, he goes, hey, man, he goes, you're pretty self-focused. And I'm like, dude, look at all I'm doing for other people. They said, yeah, but your direct feedback, I mean, this is one of the key top 3 things that came out of the survey, is the only reason why you're doing is serve yourself. So that's how I live my life, right?
Sure.
I would do 1 for you, but 1 or 2 back. I mean, it's like you said, right?
I think if everyone admitted it, we all lived in that way. I mean, I think you learn to. It's a survival. It's a certain amount of it is survival, right?
Yep.
Mode. So go ahead.
So I happened onto a business conversation in like 2016ish, right? And I'm sitting down with this guy, and it's in the capital space, and he's a managing partner of $1 billion capital fund in Chicago, and I'm small potatoes to him, and so I'm sitting there at this coffee, right? And 45 minutes we're talking about me, and what does Glenn need, and what about Glenn, and so I'm realizing the balance is off, I'm sitting there having coffee, and I'm enjoying talking about Glenn. I love it, right?
It's a good topic.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, just inside my head, I'm like, wait, we're spending too much time about
Was
me.
the guy choking on his?
Yeah, let's balance this out. So I said to him, I said, hey, Bill, I said, just want to touch base. I said, hey, I'd like to hear more about your firm and how I can help you. He looked at me and he laughed. He says, Glenn, he goes, no offense. He goes, there's nothing you can do to help me. And I had a conundrum. I was in a mental conundrum, a mental fart, and I'm like, I don't get that. Like, why would you be here?
Yeah.
Right. And so I said to him, I said, well, I actually said to him, I said, well, he saw I was messed up. He saw I was not knowing what to say, and I'm like, look, I'm used to like exploring synergies. I'm used to, how can I benefit you? And, one hand washes the other. And he laughed. He said, look, man, he goes, dude, I run $1 billion fund. He goes, everything is running great. I don't need anything. And, he goes, you just don't have the talent or connections or network. There's nothing you have.
Mm-hmm.
No offense to you.
Right.
It's in different circles. Right. So I looked at him and I said, then why would you sit with me? Why would you meet with me take an hour out of your day to sit with me? He goes, here's why. He goes, it looks like you need some help. And he said, what I know for a fact is by me sitting with you for an hour, I will benefit times 10.
Interesting.
He said, now what I will not be able to do is put my finger on it and say, oh, that happened, that blessing happened because I spent an hour with Glenn. Mm-hmm. What I do know is that my life in general is amazing and blessed because I spend time helping other people. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that was so impactful. So at that point, I started thinking, okay, maybe my 2 for 1, right? Somebody just telling me 10 for 1, right? So what if I changed? And I met a couple guys in the same circle, all the same mentality, and they were ultra successful, not just money, but just peace, and just they were confident and happy with themselves, mm-hmm. and they had purpose and all those words I wanted, right? So I left that coffee shop, and I'm gonna say, I said I'm gonna start really investing in others. Probably pay the price short term or whatever, but I'm gonna move away from transactional and get into serving others, mm-hmm. right? And I coined that serving the coffee. Yeah. Right. It's funny. We came out of a coffee shop, and I coined it serving the coffee. I got married in 2018, and I had a couple years sober, right? But I was still inwardly focused, and to some degree, I still am. I mean, it's a work in progress, right? But I'm really learning the value of serving others, mm-hmm. and thinking of myself less, right? So one of the things I do, and it really helps put me in this mindset every single day as I wake up and I have my early morning meditation time. I usually get up around 4:30 or something like that. And I go down in quiet time. I make my coffee, I have my quiet time. And the next thing I do is I make a cup of coffee for my wife. Mm-hmm. And I serve her the coffee every single day. And that helps me get into a mindset of not what can I get from my wife, but what can I do for my wife? What can I serve her? Every single morning, very rarely have I missed. On vacations, I have walked 5 blocks for a cup of coffee, for a good cup of coffee, and brought it back in the cold winter. That is something I do. That is, I serve the coffee.
What do you look to get from that?
For me, it gets me out of me. For me, it sets the tone for the day. Glenn, this is not about what you're going to get out of this life.
So she does nothing. She doesn't give you $20 for the coffee. She doesn't.
Nothing.
There's nothing. So there's nothing on the other side of that transaction. When you serve that coffee, you're expecting nothing back.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So then in 2019, I was working with a men's group at church, and there was a guy who was really, and hey, bottom line, it is really hard to be pissed off at somebody and serve them coffee at the same time.
Okay.
It's really hard,
mm-hmm.
So it really helps with that, framing the mindset. So, Dylan, I'm in this men's group at church, and there's this guy he's cranking with his wife, every single week, just cranking about his wife and stress in the relationship. And I'm like, dude, why don't you serve the coffee? And so it's the first time I kind of came out loud mm-hmm. and said in 2019, I'm like, dude, serve the coffee. He goes, what do you mean? And I'm like, get up in the morning and make your wife a cup of coffee. He goes, I ain't going to serve that bitch any coffee.
Yeah, right.
And trust me, my church men's group is it's not my grandfather's Bible study, trust me. And I'm like, dude, that's the wrong mentality. I said, just try it. Try it for a week. And he goes, man, he tried it, and it started to change his marriage. Because it started to change his mindset, mm-hmm. So, but it also, I think, not just it helps me, but, again, going back to that survey, right? Am I serving the coffee because I really want, her to know I love her and
Right.
a demonstration of love, or is it because I'm getting benefit and value from
Right.
doing it, getting outside? I don't know. Man.
Right.
I just don't know. I'm not smart enough for that, right?
The funny thing is, we go to the small group you're referring to, Glenn and I, outside of our time in AA, we also, in an effort to enhance our spiritual
pool
condition. Yeah, we have a group that we meet with, and I happen to miss that week, right? So I come back the next week, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I served the coffee." I'm like, "Where's the coffee?" I keep hearing people serving the coffee, but I missed that part. But I didn't miss the point, and I think, Glenn, I didn't know you in 2015, 16, 17, but
Right.
I did get to know you in 18 and 19, 20, 21, 22. And you really lived the mantra of serving the coffee. I see it in your daily actions. So I'm now hard pressed to see what you're doing in the world to pull things your way, because you're meeting with people in the business world and personally, where you're just serving. You're serving at church. You're serving in your community. You're serving at AA. It seems to be that you've taken your morning coffee, and yeah, maybe it set the tone, but you're rolling with it all day long.
Well, I go back to that guy Bill, and I'm just getting chills, man, because I just think of the impact of that one coffee I had with that dude, and it just hit me now that I'm kind of living what he was living.
Mm-hmm.
I just serve. I just get outside of myself, and hey, my life is better today with how I live today. Period. Fact.
Mm-hmm.
Fact. Period. End of statement. Nobody can argue with that. I mean, we just talked briefly about 19, 20, 21, 22, all being better, the best years of my life, right? And I have factual points that I can point to. Well, first of all, I wasn't in 50 detoxes,
Yes.
right? So that's probably a good start.
It's got to help you financially.
But it just helps me, it just delivers, and I don't really think about, what I do. I don't really talk about what I do. Sometimes, I share with people just to kind of coach them of the benefit of serving others. But my life is 10X because I look at others.
Well, and I think there's some scientific backing too, as you were talking, paying attention, of course, but doing a little Googling. And they say that serving in general reduces mortality by 20 to 40%. People who volunteer have 30% higher risk of, have lower blood pressure. I mean, there's actually stuff that happens when you're taking your eye off. I think because it shifts the stress, right? It's not what can Mike do for himself today, but what can I do for somebody else? It's hard to quantify. It just takes my focus off of me, and therefore reduces the stress of where I'm going to be.
Right. So a couple. Well, before I kind of wrap up with a couple keys here. That serving the coffee has expanded, right?
Right.
Serving the coffee was my hill. I put my flag on, but then it expanded to making lunches. So my wife's a school teacher, and I have two kids in school, and so I went to see this guy from a business perspective. I said give me a 30-minute window. I don't care when, where, I'll be there. He says, okay, 6 a.m. at my house. I'm like, what? You live 2 hours away? And I'm like, okay, hey, I'll be there, right? So I show up at his house at 6 a.m. And I knock on the door at 6 a.m. He said, come on in. He comes to the door in his underwear, in his briefs.
Okay.
He said, come on in. And so he says, I'm making lunches. I got 30 minutes. You got 30 minutes to pitch me. So I'm sitting in his kitchen at 6 a.m. He's in his briefs, his tidy whities, making sandwich. I mean, what are you doing? He goes, I'm making sandwiches with my family. I make my family sandwiches every day. It's my way of showing I love them. And it wasn't just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich I grew up with. I mean, it was a gourmet lunch. So I left that day. In fact, I've done it for 3 years now, and I left that meeting, and last week I texted him. I'm like, dude, I'm still making lunches. I really value what you taught me that day. And so in addition to serving the coffee, I serve the coffee, I come back down, and I make gourmet lunches for my 3 kids. But here's some, and then I fill up my wife's gas tank. right? Because I know she's hustling back and forth from work. And then I'd get her car washed. And then I do, and what I used to do is I would do things and it was like, if the tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, didn't make a sound. If I served and didn't tell anybody, did I really do it? Right?
Right.
And I had the expectation, I hate that word. I had the expectation that I wanted some accolades, right? I took the trash out. I put the trash bag in. Nobody noticed. I put the dishes away. Nobody noticed. Nobody said anything. What the fuck? What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm not getting any pat on the back. And so that took time to serve quietly, but serve quietly, expect nothing in return. And another key is do it when you don't feel like it. Just do it. So, I've seen it happen in our guys group, some guys that really latched in. I challenge listeners, man. If you're out there, I challenge. Do something for somebody, one thing. And if you live with somebody,
Start with the coffee.
Start with the coffee. Right. Serve the coffee. Right. Or serve the tea if somebody doesn't like coffee. Do one thing. I don't get served coffee, so I don't know what that feels like. I would feel pretty special. I would feel like, man, I'm mad. Coffee is important to my day kicking off. Somebody cares about me enough to serve me a cup of coffee. I think that would feel great. I make my own coffee, right? But I mean, and again, that's Glenn looking all Glenn's like, I don't get coffee, right? But try it. Just like you said, try serving a cup of coffee.
Yeah, you know what I love about it? What's really, as I listen to you, it's got to make you feel, what's your payback, right? So when you go to bed at night, it's got to make you feel better about you. And for those years that we were out there, how many nights did you go to bed feeling pretty good about yourself? When I was out there, I went to bed, I didn't feel good about myself.
No.
But serving the coffee throughout the day, right, and expanding into lunches and opening doors for people and do that, I feel better about myself. And, that was a lost feeling. I never felt good about myself before.
Yeah, so full transparency, when I go to bed at night now, I'm exhausted. Yeah. I don't think about anything. I put my Bose noise-canceling headphones on, and I get my meditation music, and I pray, and I wear a Fitbit, so I know my sleeping patterns. I go amazingly, like a snap of a finger, right into deep sleep.
Right.
Where I feel better about myself is my morning meditation. And what I've noticed for the last several weeks, and we can talk about that online, offline, but the last several weeks, there hasn't been a morning meditation where I haven't gotten the chills.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I don't know what that means. I'm getting chills right now. I don't know what that means, but, I have pain throughout the day, meaning I do stuff I don't want to do, and I'm dealing with the head trash all day long. But if you do the next right thing in your quiet time, it shows up. And so I think I'm to the point where I've stopped measuring what I'm doing. I just do it.
That's great.
I used to keep a scorecard. I don't keep a scorecard anymore. I don't care. I just do it because I know it works. Right. Overall, it works. I can't put my finger on it. Going back to Bill, I can't put my finger on it, but I get 10X.
Right. Awesome, man. Hey,
serve the
stuff.
Coffee, man.
Serve the coffee. Start today.
I can't wait to buy you a cup of coffee. I'll serve you coffee.
Love you, man.
Love you, brother.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.